has finally arrived. Here we are. College football playoff is in South Bend this week. I am so fired up. I'm your host, Tony Simeone. This is Wake Up the Echoes, presented by TireRack.com. We've been talking about this moment for the entire season, and it is going to happen on Friday night inside Notre Dame Stadium. I have a special treat for anybody that's on the fence, thinking about, should I go to the game? Should I not go to the game? It might be a little too cold. Is it worth it? Should I make the trek inside Notre Dame? Yes, the answer is yes, and here's why. Boom. Rally towels are going to be there. You can only get these when you're at the game on Friday night. I am told every single person that walks through the turnstiles is going to get this. Look at this. Look at this collector's item. If you're not watching and you're just listening on our podcast channel, you need to go to the YouTube feed and look at these. This is also the identical yellow signage that you see on the Play Like a Champion sign. These are awesome rally towels, and I expect every single fan who walks into the stadium to be swinging them all game long. I cannot tell you how excited I am for the game on Friday night. I think everybody associated with Notre Dame is excited, and that's why we brought in Athletic Director Pete Bevacqua to talk about everything in the lead up to this game. Also touched on, of course, women's basketball, who had the big win against UConn last week, and just covered a whole bunch of topics with him. And then Notre Dame quarterback and Irish great Ron Powlus, who of course is still on the staff, came in to talk a little bit about the home field advantage. I've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about how this home game might not feel like a true home game, or it's kind of a CFP home game. No. This is a home game for Notre Dame against Indiana, Friday night, 8 p.m. If you can't make it, that's fine. You won't get a rally towel, but you'll be watching or listening. I know you will. I can't wait for the game. I know you can't wait either. So let's not waste any more time, and let's talk to Pete Bevacqua. Okay, here we are. Pete Bevacqua, welcome back to Wake Up the Echoes. This is the perfect week for you to be here because it's college football playoff week. Give me an idea of your excitement level going into this playoff game on Friday.
I think it's going to be great. There's such a buzz around campus, around town, and I really think around the country. This seems to be the game people are focused on. We sold out well before we even announced we were sold out. It felt like we were sold out. The demand has just been off the charts, and I think the team is so hungry and ready. These last few weeks, just kind of waiting and seeing where we were going to be seated. And we obviously had a good feeling after the USC game that A, we were going to be in the CFP, and B, we'd be hosting. But we didn't know how it was going to shake out or who would be playing here. And I don't think people really cared, but you still want to know, who's going to come visit you here at Notre Dame Stadium. So I think it's going to be a blast. Looks like it's going to be cold and a little bit of snow, so it should be perfect.
The imagery, I think, could be incredible on Friday night. We have Ron Powlus coming on, so I'm going to save a lot of my more in-depth football questions for when Ron joins us. But I do just want to get a sense, because we've checked in a few times here throughout the semester, how semester one, full-time here as the AD, has gone for you when you include all the stuff you've had to think about with football and the playoff and football scheduling. Just what's the first semester been like for you? Where do you kind of see things right now?
Yeah, well, there's so much movement in college sports right now. No secret about that. And I think it's a fascinating time. All the change that, whether you think about name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, the movement around conference realignment that seems, at least for the moment, to have stabilized itself, the House settlement. And if the House settlement gets approved on April 7th, the implications that will have for the college landscape. So we've really been doing everything we can to plan for that future. We have a plan set and a plan in place should the House settlement go through, which means direct compensation for student athletes, roster limits, changes to the rules around scholarships. So we're certainly spending a tremendous amount of time with our team and with the coaches and assistant coaches preparing for that, as well as making sure our student athletes are in the know. We don't want them to be surprised by anything. So that's taken up quite a bit of time necessarily and I think essentially. And then just as you think about these seasons, our women's soccer team had such a great season, a great run, obviously, and I know we're going to talk more about football with Ron. But the momentum the program has right now with 10 straight wins is fantastic, and I think that has created so much excitement around campus. Men's basketball is off to a strong start. Unfortunately, our great point guard, Marcus Burton's sidelined for a few more weeks. But what Micah Shrewsbury has done for that program and that team now in just year 2 of his tenure gives us all the hope in the world about where our men's basketball program is headed. And think about women's basketball. I think we have the most dynamic, exciting team maybe that I've ever seen. When you think about Niel and the talent on that team with Hannah and Liv and Sony and Leah too, and Maddie hopefully coming back soon, and our superstar freshman and Kate Koval. One of the great elements that games I've been associated with since my time at Notre Dame, whether I go back as a student or being a fan, literally since I was born. I don't think many things surpassed the vibe in Purcell the other night when UConn came to town. Just absolutely packed. The amount of student athletes that were there, the amount of students that were there. It's always great to look across the court and see Marcus. He was there with his daughter, and we had so many of the great Notre Dame women's basketball players from the past come and root the team on. So that was just a wonderful experience. But no, it's been great. It's been a busy first semester. I think we're, coming to this wonderful end here on Friday night of the semester before all the kids go back home for break. And, we made some changes, optimistically anticipating that we would, it worked out, and that was, thanks to Trisha Balia and John McGreevy, our provost, adjusting our exam schedule. So exams will be done on Thursday. So Friday is freed up. Also Father Jerry Ollinger keeping the dorms open until Sunday at noon, because we wanted to make sure that if we were lucky enough and fortunate enough to host a playoff game here, we had to have our students here. That's such a key part of the Notre Dame experience and such a key element in Notre Dame Stadium. And it's wonderful to know that they're going to be out in force.
If I were taking finals this week, the great motivating factor is that waiting for me on the other side of finals is a playoff game at night in Notre Dame Stadium. I just can't even imagine how excited I'd be to get through finals, knowing that's waiting for me at the end of the
But focus on finals, concentrate, focus, do well, and then come have fun at the game.
I want to follow up on women's basketball because you mentioned the environment. I thought, like you said, it was just awesome to see all those greats in attendance, whether it's Enrique, Skylar, Jewel Lloyd, Marina, they're on the sideline. And you mentioned the team, maybe being the most dynamic team, and that's what stood out to me. And there was, I think Colorado did a hit for ESPN that said maybe it's the biggest student attendance they've had maybe ever, or at least in a long time. I just think the way that this team plays, there have been great women's basketball teams on this campus for years. The way that this team plays, in particular, I think Hannah and Olivia, and you mentioned that they're all great, but those two, I watch them, they're so different in the way they play, in their demeanor. Hannah is just over the top. She's going crazy. She's just, her energy just is oozing out of her. And she reminds me of that player that walks on the floor in the pickup game and just knows exactly what she's going to do, calm, cool, and collected. There's just something about them. They're intoxicating. There's a gravitational pull to them. Did you feel that watching them and in the building? Do you feel that's why that great amount of support was there, maybe even more so than in years past?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been wonderful. I've been to, I don't think I've missed any of the home games this season. I love going there. I love women's basketball. And credit to Niel to be able to bring this team together like that, because you have so many talented players with different styles. And really, it takes a special head coach to bring that all together and to make it work.
Right.
And what's wonderful to see with Hannah and Olivia is that they feed off of each other. Their styles are different. They're both incredibly talented, unbelievably accomplished players, but they feed off each other, and you can tell they're just making each other better. Yeah. And then Sony, to me, is kind of the glue that holds the team together, kind of the quiet assassin, right? And just the defensive specialist and unbelievable offensive player when you need her to be. And hey, if you're going and facing, one of the great players in the country, like a Juju or a Paige, it's Sony that kind of gets isolated on that player to try to do the best she can to slow them down.
Yeah, you need that on a team if you're going to go a long distance. And then I also just found myself watching Leah too a lot that game. She's just a double-double machine. I think she's averaging a double-double.
Yeah, she's so athletic, strong. She has been just a wonderful added ingredient that's really allowed this team to click.
I just love watching her in the mid-range because it's just a part of the game that's kind of gone by the wayside. As I get older, I yearn for the DeJuan Blairs and Tim Duncans, whoever it may be, you want to call your mid-range king or queen. It was fun to watch. I want to circle back on the house settlement that you brought up, and just maybe for fans that haven't followed it closely, when you think about the landscape of college athletics, just how will that maybe affect the way roster building or team construction is impacted going forward? And you don't have to divulge all the plans you guys have in place depending on how it shakes out, but just what would a fan maybe recognize as a key change when it does come down in April?
Well, right now you have NCAA limitations. So we have roughly 740 student athletes on campus, and we have 322.2 scholarships, and that's because of NCAA regulations. Should the settlement get approved, and we have every reason to believe that it will on April 7th by Judge Wilkin, there are no more scholarship limitations, but roster numbers will be imposed on each program.
Okay.
So the number for football, for instance, will be 105. Every sport will change in some degree. Some rosters are going to go up. Some rosters are going to go down. There's still a little bit of debate on how soon that will take hold. The common thought right now is that it will go into effect for next school year.
Okay.
I feel strongly that there should be a bit of a grace period. But it doesn't seem, we're still making our thoughts and our beliefs known in that, but it seems like this kind of instantaneous imposition of the roster limits might rule the day. So what you're going to have to see are teams getting used to lower numbers in some instances, like football, or higher numbers in other instances, like women's basketball. You'll see more student athletes on the women's basketball team.
Okay.
And I think for certain coaches, they'll have to adjust how they recruit, how they practice, what type of players they recruit. It really varies, Tony, from sport to sport for each one of our 26 programs. And then the other big component to the house settlement is the ability for the first time ever for the universities and the Power Four conferences and the Pac-12 now, the Pac-2 and other schools that opt in, you will be able to directly compensate a segment of your student athletes up to a cap amount. So we're also in the process of figuring out what that will look like here at Notre Dame. We absolutely will hit the cap.
Okay.
Most of the cap dollars mostly will follow the revenue sports, no secret there, but we're going through that process and working with our coaches and our sports administrators and the team as a whole, our staff, to make sure we have a really viable plan in place. And then working very closely with Rally, the
right.
collective that's serving the needs and the opportunity, creating opportunities for our Notre Dame student athletes. And we have a great board that makes up Rally. We have a wonderful executive director, and between the compensation from the university and opportunities created by Rally, really kind of navigating that terrain, figuring that out, putting a great plan in place so we can do everything possible to be as successful as possible in our 26 programs. But just as importantly, maintain what it means to be a student athlete here at Notre Dame. And I think that's more important than ever, as I've said before. I think it's rarer than ever in the college space, but at Notre Dame, it's so important that when you're here, regardless of the sport you play, you are a student athlete. You're not just an athlete, you're a student athlete. And every resource in the world we're going to provide for you to succeed athletically, we're going to do the same academically. That's what makes Notre Dame Notre Dame.
So how do you and the coaches ensure that? Because I just heard you say all that, and I can imagine that's got to be the biggest challenge for you or anybody in a position of great responsibility like you across the country, is that the easiest thing to do right now is to lose sight of where the mission starts and ends. And how does your staff or the coaches or everyone you work with ensure that student athlete is still preserved here at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, we have constant conversations with the faculty, with Tricia Balia, who's really our kind of key liaison between the athletic department and the academic side of the university. And I'll tell you what helps is we have coaches that believe in that model. If you think about Marcus Freeman, Yale Ivey, Micah Shrewsbury, you can go coach by coach. Salima, who I know has been a guest on the show with me, with you. They don't see it as a hindrance. They don't see it as a hurdle. They see it as part of what makes Notre Dame different, part of Notre Dame's DNA. They see it as a differentiator. And, I sat down probably about a month ago now with one of the top women's basketball recruits in the country. And this young woman could go anywhere based on her basketball skills and happens to be an unbelievable student. And when I said to her, when I was sitting down with her, I said, hey, you could go to other great top-tier basketball programs, and I named a few. I said, and with your type of academic credentials, you could go to an Ivy League school. I said, and I'm biased, right? I'm admittedly biased, but I said, I believe in my heart that we're the best 1-2 punch in the country. If you want to come here and play sports at the absolute highest level and have all the resources and get an unbelievable world-class education and a degree that's going to serve you for the rest of your life, whether you play in the WNBA for a day or for 15 years.
Right.
To me, there's no combination as powerful and as effective as Notre Dame. And I think that's going to become more and more meaningful as the college landscape continues to change. But the key is to do both. You have to have great student athletes and be committed to the academic sides of things, and you have to win. I mean, to accomplish both of those goals is, I think, what makes Notre Dame athletics what it is.
I want to follow up on also something we talked about. I think you were here about a month ago. You gave me a men's swimming update.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check back in before the end of this semester, just kind of see where things stand and where things are with that program as you head into the turn of the calendar.
Yeah, we are really pleased with the continued progress of the team under Coach Chris Lindauer and his staff, to see the efforts that have been made on the men's team with the freshmen and the upperclassmen, to see the unbelievable efforts and the resolve on the women's team. I actually had a lunch with the seniors on the women's team a couple of weeks ago and wanted to make sure that they also saw this progress, and we're really pleased.
Okay.
And like I said last time you asked me, should this progress continue and should the rehabilitation plan that Coach Lindauer put together continue to be followed? I feel really confident that program's going to be back up and running and stronger than ever next year.
That's great to hear. Let's take a quick break and let's bring in Ron Powlus and talk some football.
Sounds good.
Okay, Pete, you slid to the side. I really appreciate that because we made room for Ron Powlus. Thanks for joining us, Ron. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah, wake up the echoes.
I love that we have a Notre Dame quarterback with us. It's the perfect time for this week with the playoff. We're going to get into all kinds of playoff stuff, but we've brought you in for it's now becoming pretty famous, Spinning Our Wheels segment. It's presented by our good friends at TireRack.com. You have the great honor of spinning the wheel. I'm going to let you give it a rip.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, you got to send it a little bit harder than you think. Okay, if you just roll it back one, you see that? Boom, right, we're going to do a draft. We're going to do a draft. That's how it works here. Tire Rack had a plan the whole time. They wanted us to draft. Now, Pete, behind you in that locker, I've got a couple of whiteboards. Ron's got it covered. There's a couple whiteboards, a couple pens. So what we do here is we have drafts occasionally.
We're like Denbrock and Golden right now.
Exactly. It's at the blue gold game. Exactly. I think we drafted with a couple basketball guys, like the best point guards of the last 25 years. We're not doing that for this one. We're going to do a draft of and I think we're going to categorize it as your favorite. No, we're going to say best places to visit on campus. The reason for this is for the playoff, we've got people coming in from out of town, and we want to maybe just lay out some places that they should make sure they check out if it's their first time on campus. So we're going to do a draft of our best places to visit while on campus. It'll be a snake draft, and Ron, you get to start because you're our first guy. Everyone have a 4-place team, and then we'll decide who has the best 4-place team. So you can go first. You have the first place. You're on campus. Where you want to go?
Am I just writing it down?
You're going to announce it. You're going to draft it. It's the first pick of the places on Notre Dame's campus to visit draft.
The Grotto.
Okay, the Grotto. That's a great pick. Why do you like the Grotto so much? And for those of you who aren't familiar, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it's a wonderful, wholesome representation of what the University of Notre Dame is, to have the opportunity to say a prayer, light a candle, consider your day, what you've done and what you're about to do. Great, peaceful place, sitting right behind our basilica in the Golden Dome.
It is a great place to kind of get away sometimes from a lot of the hustle and bustle that can be taking place on campus. So
that was kind of area creep, though, where you said next to because those are mine.
But he did not pick the basilica, so it's up for grabs. Is that your pick?
Mine's the dome.
Okay. So go check out the
And I was
dome.
going to say the area around the dome. But
Okay.
I'll limit it to the dome.
Is it? I'm going to get this again. I didn't go here, so I get a pass. What's the road when you drive up and you look at the dome? Is
Notre
that
Dame Avenue?
Notre Dame Avenue?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the iconic drive right there. If you get a chance to drive up that road while you're in town, you got to take the drive.
Yeah,
right?
but I think going up to the dome, walking up the steps, going inside the administration building, and peering up at the dome from inside is beautiful.
Yeah.
And much like Ron said, with that surrounding area, with the Basilica and Soren Hall, it's one of the great spots on campus.
Okay, so you've taken the Golden Dome. That's pretty good. You guys have two very good ones. I'm going to throw you for a curveball here, and I think people that listen to this show know where I'm going. I'm going with North Dining Hall. Okay? Now, my reason for this is that I think it is a phenomenal place to just hang out, get a nice meal, and some of the best conversations you'll ever have on campus will take place in North Dining Hall. I've had them with colleagues, students that work with us at FIM. It's just a wonderful place. It's my favorite place on campus. I go there actually before a lot of men's basketball games now. So I'm going North Dining Hall. This is also a snake draft, so I get it on the way back.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Hesburgh Library. And I think, does that include Touchdown Jesus? Yeah. So I get Touchdown Jesus, you get a good look at it, and I think you should go inside. I think a lot of people take the photo. It's a great photo, but it's a beautiful library, and it's a wonderful place. I think you should see the interior if you get a chance. So I'm going with the library.
Now, I think, do I go?
Yeah.
I'm going to say walk the lakes.
Oh.
Two great lakes on campus. Beautiful spot, very peaceful, great views of the dome and the Basilica. It's something I do every morning of game days.
Okay.
I'll go for a run really early and go around the lakes and just kind of see the campus before the campus wakes up.
I'm going to go lean into that same area and go with the Basilica. You know, the obviously the church on campus and what it represents to our campus and the Catholic faith and the collection of stained glass and the beauty that it is a must see.
Yeah. Hard to beat that one. So you've got Basilica 2. Give everyone a second here just to reset and think, because I got to be honest with you, we've kind of wiped out the top choices, I think. Obviously, North Dining Hall being first, and everything else after that. So what do you got for your third?
Yeah, for my third, I kind of take it for granted, but it's Notre Dame Stadium. You know, we're there so often, but it is a place to see. Whether you're traveling through the area or coming for a game day, obviously on game day you're there, but traveling through the area, it's still a sight to see.
Imagine if you're going to see Notre Dame Stadium for the first time ever on this Friday night playoff game. That's got to be an unbelievable experience.
It will be magical, no doubt.
I'm envious of whatever fans get to see it for the first time on Friday night. Okay, what do you got for your third, Pete?
I have the log chapel.
Oh, very good call.
The original church on campus, I believe. We have 3 kids. Our youngest, Jake, was baptized there. And it's kind of tucked, if you know where Corby is, kind of tucked between Corby and Bond Hall up on the hill there, hidden. You have to be looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a beautiful spot. Again, another great peaceful spot in Notre Dame. And if the door's open and you can peek your head in, it's really beautiful inside.
That's a good pick. Worried about my team now. Is it DeBartolo, the Performing Arts Center?
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's a reason, I don't know what's going on this week, if there's just any chance to go in and check it out, I think it's a great location just to see how neat it is, how cool it is. If there's any events, I'm going to go with DeBartolo. And then I had a great last one that I'm blanking on now. Oh, man. What was it? It was somewhere on campus. Oh, the bookstore. The bookstore. Because if you are new to campus, you need to be showing up to the stadium dressed appropriately. There's plenty of great gear in the bookstore. It's a great bookstore. But make your way to the bookstore. Make sure you show up, obviously, warm enough and dressed the right way. So that was my fourth. Okay. That's my team. What do you got for your fourth, Pete?
I actually have the South Dining Hall. And I think,
what a mistake.
As Ron would know, I think you're partial to which dining hall you went to as a student. You lived in.
I lived in Flanner Hall, so I was a North Hall, but dining hall either way. Absolutely, yeah, no doubt.
I lived in Soren, so I probably ate 99.9% of the time in the South Dining Hall. But I think the building, just the architecture of the building, is beautiful. And if you ask Doug Marsh, who's kind of our responsible for so much of the vision of the campus of Notre Dame over the last few decades. I think he says it's his favorite building on campus, South Dining Hall.
You know what? I will concede to you here. My case against South Dining Hall, and I've had this debate maybe 25 times now on this show with people that come on. I'm glad that you're on the right side of it. But my argument is never about the aesthetics or the architecture of South Dining Hall. In fact, it's the opposite. It's getting away with a lot of its inferior layout to North because of its aesthetics. So if you are going to go visit one and not partake in the dining experience, you just want to see one, South is the call. It's a beautiful building. So it's a great pick.
It is a beautiful building, and I'm going to kind of lean into the area, more of an area, but my last pick that I had was the South Quad. Just the ability to walk around the South Quad. It's vast, it's green, the American flag is in the middle of it. As you're passing through to see the dome down Notre Dame Ave, South Quad's a great spot.
It is a great spot. Okay, so let's recap real quick. I'll go with mine because admittedly I think I might have the last place team. I have North Dining Hall, Hesburgh Library, DeBartolo Performing Arts Center, and the bookstore. It's not bad, but I think you guys maybe compiled better lists. Ron, what's your 4?
I went with the Grotto, the Basilica, Notre Dame Stadium, and the South Quad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think Ron won. I went with the Dome, Walk the Lakes, Log Chapel, and South Dining Hall. But if I'm being objective, I have to give the nod to Ron.
I'm trying to think.
But strong, though. That's strong when you start with the Dome.
You guys have really very practical Saturdays you could spend hitting all those, walking around, checking them out. I think mine, not so much, but there's still some places to check out. I think we gave our listeners 12 places, though, they can certainly observe on.
I do think you came in third, though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no doubt. But North Dining Hall is a great pick. I'll stand by that.
It is a great pick.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll come right back and talk some CFP. Okay, Ron and Pete, that was a blast. We established I had the worst draft.
Yeah.
You guys did much better than me. This is now our Cooler Conversation segment presented by our good friends at Yeti. Before we start, I always offer up everyone a drink. Ron, we've got Coke products. Dasani, of course, is a Coke product. What are you going for? Okay.
I'll
Pete?
do the same, Ron.
Okay. And I got big news for you guys. It is the college football playoff, first ever home game in South Bend. This is a regular Coke that I'm going to drink. First person, I think, on the show to drink a regular Coke. Here we go. Oh, man. Whew, that is good. Very good stuff. I'm ready to go. Okay. Ron, I want to start with you.
Yeah.
You played here. You were the quarterback at Notre Dame. You've been involved with a ton of big moments at Notre Dame. This, to me, feels just like another first and a place that's seen a lot of firsts. Where's the excitement level at for you, and how, I don't know, just how impactful is it to be a part of something so unique and kicking it off at Notre Dame Stadium?
Yeah, I think it's really unique because Notre Dame football has been around so long and has accomplished so much. There aren't a lot of firsts left. But to have the opportunity to play in this first version of the 12-team college football playoff, the first game of those games occurring on our campus, boy, it feels right, and I think it's got the magnitude of, because of the impact, because of the opponent, it's got the magnitude of any huge game that's ever occurred here, perhaps with the most impact leading to an opportunity for a championship.
Yeah.
In the past, we've had gigantic games on our campus, without a doubt, and in the era of rankings and ranking the champion, and it's certainly been tremendously impactful, but to host the first of the 12-team playoff that's going to give you opportunity to go win a championship on the field in this new version of the college football playoff is it's tremendously exciting. And campus is abuzz, the team is abuzz. I mean, this is as exciting as it gets around here.
Pete, to me, it almost feels too good to be true, because when they announced that the 12-team playoff was coming and the format, what it would be like, everyone in South Bend was just like, oh, but the dream is that you get one of the top 8 seeds and you get to host, because you have to host, being 5 through 8. And here we are. Notre Dame's hosting the first ever playoff game. From your vantage point, does it feel almost surreal that it all kind of ended up working out the way that every Notre Dame fan kind of hoped that it would?
It's really amazing because it's such a long season, right? 12 games, 12 difficult games against different opponents. And the way it lined up, and, I just think back to our last game at, USC. and just being on the sidelines and, probably bothering Ron way too much. But just thinking like so much was on the line. Like the fact that, okay, if we can win this game, not only are we in the playoffs, but we're going to be hosting a game at Notre Dame Stadium. And like Ron said, not only hosting a game, but hosting the first ever college football playoff game as a home team on your home field. I mean, we're the first to first, and that'll never happen again. We'll always be the first. And that was such a great moment when we felt like we had the game in hand and knowing that this was all going to come to fruition. And just thinking about, all the times Coach Freeman had the team together and saying, focus on the moment, focus on the day, the next play, reloading, just kind of hearing all his thoughts and all his words of wisdom to the team. You feel so good for the staff, the student athletes on that team, for the campus, for the whole Notre Dame community.
So were you guys, I know you're on the sideline, were you both on the sideline when Christian Gray makes the interception and runs it down on the opposite sideline?
Oh, yeah.
What's going through your head when he makes that play? Right?
Well, that was, we needed a stop and we needed something to happen. And, as we do on the sidelines, we need to turn over here. We need a sack. So, yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, heck, everybody halfway chasing it down the sideline ourselves, but super exciting. And for Christian to pull that off in that moment on the goal line and going back 99 yards was it was tremendous excitement, yeah.
Yeah, and just remember watching it and thinking of watching his teammates who were talking to him prior to it on the sideline and pumping him up, which is, the team has such a great culture. Then he makes this wonderful interception. Then you see, there's chaos. Where on the other side of the field, you see a flag. So immediately I'm thinking, we must have blocked somebody in the back, but at least we have the interception. We'll take the 15 yards, our ball. And then when they signaled that it was against USC, it was such a great feeling. And then Xavier, of course, kind of pulls through moments later.
Cherry on top.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was funny. We were talking about it, Ryan Harris and I, on the broadcast, and it's a great pick. Like you said, the fact he doesn't fall to the ground. You easily fall to the ground at the 2. Now you may be taking a safety or you're having a punt from your end zone. And then there were like 6 guys running downfield to block with it. I mean, to turn it into 7 the other way, that's what put the game away. Something I really want to dig into here and make sure that we're on the same page about. And I think it reflects on what you were saying. There was so much at stake in that game because in the past you might have been playing for, I don't want to disparage any bowls, but you might just be playing in a bowl that's not for the national championship game. Now that game gives you the chance to host. You said everyone kind of knew going in, if we win, we get to host. Well, to me, the whole benefit of hosting is you get 70,000+ of your own fans screaming and yelling. I've been hearing rumors that, there's some CFP guidelines that this game's going to feel a little bit different in the stadium. Let's just clear up for those that are coming what the home field advantage is going to look like for Notre Dame fans on Friday night.
Yeah, we will have a home field advantage without a doubt. I mean, fully expect our outstanding fan base to represent appropriately, and we know that we'll have that advantage. There are some guidelines that the CFP installs, and it's mostly to make things more uniform throughout all the college football playoff games on campuses, mostly related to timing, when the teams leave the field, how long pregame warmups last, a little bit of extra 2 minutes at halftime for both bands. Nothing that's going to necessarily detract from the home field advantage. The unique piece is, yes, they both teams will have an introduction video. And Indiana will have an intro video, and then they'll take the field, and then we'll do our intro and our intro video, and we'll take the field. So they'll get a little juice there, but it'll certainly get overwhelmed by our home field advantage. But as far as our kickoff song and the 1812 overture and the things that we can do in game, those things will all take place. The teams will walk from the Basilica to the stadium. All those things that we do to make the Notre Dame home game special, those things will all take place. Just a few guideline things that the CFP installs.
One that might be a little apparent to people is because of the ticket guidelines. I think a group of it's either 1,200 or 1,500. I think it's 1,500. Indiana tickets for their fans are in the lower tier of the bowl.
Gotcha.
Which is not the norm for a visitor in Notre Dame Stadium.
Okay, so you might see more red closer to the field than usual, but
just in that one
pocket, right? And they earned it. Again, if Notre Dame were on the road, they're allocated the same thing.
Exactly.
I think that's great to hear. I think were some people worried that when they're getting ready to kick the ball off, they wouldn't hear that magical song. I'm thinking, listen, I know they have to make it uniform and make some concessions to make it maybe a more representative feel, but the whole point of having these games on campus sites is so they feel like they're on campus sites, right?
Yeah, this is different than if we're hosting an NCAA tournament game in soccer or women's basketball or something like that, where the imagery is purposely NCAA kind of objective.
Mm-hmm.
This is set up by the CFP as a home game for these 4 teams that are hosting.
You know, Ron, and you're in the building over there with the coaching staff. Coach Freeman was on this couch the other day, and he, I thought, made a pretty clear call to action for the fans to kind of show up and be loud. And this is going to be, I think, just a unique challenge for fans because it's late, it's cold, but it's maybe the biggest game or certainly one of the biggest games ever in the stadium. Just what do you hope to see from the fans when they're all there on Friday night?
Yeah, reiterate Coach Freeman's words. I mean, yes, show up and be loud. I mean, we have the opportunity to impact the other team as a stadium, as a fan group. You can impact the game with noise and you know, a team's opponents that communicate at the line of scrimmage or even in the huddle. Boy, it's hard when it's loud, and we want the fans to do that. We have the fans to do it. We've done it before. And just like Coach Freeman has talked to the team about, you know, as we move into this playoffs, find that little bit more as a football team, as a football player. Where do you find that little bit more to impact the game? The same can be said for the fans. You know, come on out, get loud, and impact the game a little bit more than we have.
I'm excited to see and hear what it sounds like. I want to follow up on Coach Freeman with you, Pete, because yesterday it was announced that he has a contract extension. I think everybody's thrilled to see that he's been extended for a while here at Notre Dame. Just what was the process like for you, and how excited are you to have Marcus Freeman signed to a long-term deal here at Notre Dame?
Well, we're thrilled. I think the whole university is thrilled. I think Notre Dame supporters all over the country. I know Ron and I were talking about this when we were walking in. The feedback we've gotten from alumni and Notre Dame fans. But, you know, I think the best thing I can say about the whole process, it was easy. You know, conversations I had with Father Bob and John Viemeyer, our chairman of the board of trustees. You know, Marcus is the perfect fit for Notre Dame on the field and off the field. You know, what he's done on the field in year 3, just kind of the staff he's assembled, the student athletes he has playing for Notre Dame. You know, obviously the momentum that the program has, just being around him day in and day out. And, you know, nobody's closer to that than Ron, seeing the way he motivates the staff, motivates the student athletes. And then just as importantly, what he does off the field. He's such a great representative of Notre Dame. I mean, when I sat down with Marcus and I was with him yesterday, I said, you know, the 2 most visible representatives of Notre Dame are the president of the university and the head football coach. And he is just a wonderful advocate for everything that Notre Dame is. You know, you think about we were talking about the UConn women's basketball game. There he is with his daughter. That's the number of football players who were in the stands that night. He's just doing it. He's doing it in a Notre Dame way. He's not shying away from the challenges of Notre Dame, about what it means to be a student athlete here and to be able to compete at the highest level and compete for national championships in football. He wants to be here. His family is happy here. His wife, Joanna, his 6 kids. And, you know, one of his biggest real priorities when we were talking to him about this extension and the conversations I had with him, including, you know, Ron and I had a great conversation with Marcus on Friday in Ron's office. Talk to me about my assistant coaches. And I want to make sure this is an investment in them as well. And it is, you know, and that's the way he's wired. That's the way he thinks. And the conversations I had with him about this new agreement, it was never about him. It really wasn't. It wasn't about the specifics of the deal as it related to him. It was all about the program, about the student athletes, about his assistant coaches, and making sure that everything was going to continue with our foot on the gas the way it has. And when you think about this long-term extension, the staff he's assembled, the momentum we have hosting this game, the new NBC deal, our comfort with the CFP and the deal we negotiated with them, Shields Family Hall, you'd never take anything for granted. It's game by game, day by day, but we're bullish on the future.
Ron, I saw you nodding along quite a bit there, and you, of course, have played for great coaches here, have worked with great coaches. Just what sticks out with Coach Freeman for you?
Well, he is as tough and competitive as anybody you'll ever be around. I mean, he is driven, he is a worker, he is dedicated to the task of leading Notre Dame football in the right way. But he's equally and wonderfully authentic about developing relationships and the people that make up the program, the student athletes and their families and the coaching staff and the support staff and their families and the university and all the different units around campus, and engaging with our campus and living, teaching, and coaching with the values that are important to Notre Dame. So he's a fantastic combination of all those things. And when you couple that with his desire to continue to lead Notre Dame football upwards, he is great to be around and great for Notre Dame football and the university in general.
Yeah, like you said, everyone I heard from very excited about what's to come. Friday is going to be unbelievable. I mean, you guys have lived this and breathed this much longer than I have, and I am very excited for Friday, so I can only imagine where you guys are. I hope it's really fun. I hope you guys enjoy it on Friday night.
Well, thank you. We're looking forward to it. The great thing is it's a Friday. We don't have to wait all the way to Saturday. So we get to the game a day earlier, and the program's excited. We're excited for Notre Dame and looking forward to having everybody out.
It's a real Christmas come early moment on Friday. Should be fun.
Sure is.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
All right. That wraps up this week's edition of Wake Up the Echoes presented by TireRack.com. Thanks again to Pete Bevacqua and Ron Powlus for coming by. I think we are now sufficiently fired up and ready for the playoff game on Friday night. Again, you can come get the rally towels if you're going to be at the game. It should be an awesome experience, and I just can't wait. I just cannot wait for the game. Want to remind you, this is our final show in 2024, so make sure to have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday season, wherever you are celebrating this time of year. We'll be back the first week of January. January 7th will hit your feed wherever you get podcasts. Or, of course, please go to YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe. Love to have your comments there whenever we do our drafts. You can vote on our draft. We had a draft on this podcast. If you have a vote for who had the best draft, feel free to jump in the comments there. So we won't see you until 2025. Hopefully the next time we talk to you, Notre Dame is still playing football. The playoff is about to get underway, and I just can't wait. I just cannot wait. All right, we'll talk to you in 2025 on Wake Up the Echoes, presented by TireRack.com.